I recently came across an interesting name for a specific relationship role profile that I think is really relevant and I want to talk about. It's called The Caretaker by Margalis Fielstead, who is a therapist. And I see that a lot of the people that I work with get stuck in this role, or were stuck in it, or have the potential to get stuck in it again. So I think this is also something that's relevant and important to you to consider. Am I the kind of person that would care for their partner so much that it completely exhausts me, that it makes me mentally or physically ill because I keep doing things for my partner that they should be doing for themselves? Caretakers are people who feel like it's all their responsibility to create a good relationship, and only their responsibility. They try to be the perfect partner. They take care of all of their partner's needs. They apologize even if they don't know what they did wrong. They actually get along well with almost everybody, but at home it's really hard for them to create a good relationship. They try to soothe all of their partner's moods, but good times never last. Their whole focus is on their partner, but despite all the effort they invest, the relationship doesn't improve, whereas they themselves become more and more anxious, exhausted, and depressed. The caretaker profile is somebody who has a hard time saying no and hates conflict. Often they also find it hard to know what they want in relationships, and they allow their partner to make decisions for them that actually really interfere with their autonomy, like who they're allowed to be friends with. They put up with toxic behavior from their partner and sometimes even help their partner cover their tracks to keep projecting the illusion of a perfect relationship to the outside world. Caretakers have higher standards for themselves than for others, and what they expect of themselves as an investment into a relationship goes above and beyond of what's healthy for them. And because they consistently keep denying their own needs, sometimes they have spontaneous eruptions of anger where all of the resentment comes out all at once. And of course, later they feel guilty for that and often apologize. Caretakers often end up in relationships with people who need somebody to take care of them. People who aren't emotionally aware or accountable or competent or mature, and who need another person to manage and regulate their emotions for them. These are people who often need the relationship and family to revolve around their needs. And that ends up burning out and overburdening other family members. The motto isn't all for one, one for all, it's all for one. The partners caretakers end up with often seem emotionally balanced if you don't know them that well, or if you're just getting to know them. They can hide their volatility and aggression well from people at work or the wider family circle, but at home they often combust and act in very hurtful and manipulative ways. These are people who have stronger emotional reactions to things and haven't learned to manage that themselves and need somebody else to blame for that and to take care of that, to carry that and calm and soothe them. Often these relationships first start out great, but then over a certain amount of time, the caretaker cared for dynamic settles in. And at first, the caretaker thinks, well, this is because they're having stress at work, or this really dramatic thing happened with their friend or in their family. And soon they'll see how much I'm giving and reciprocate, but the reciprocation never comes, and the caretaker gets more and more exhausted and frustrated, but also feels guilty at the thought of changing something about the dynamic. The caretaker's partner then uses different manipulative strategies to keep the caretaker in the caretaking role. That could be creating a sense of obligation, guilt, or fear, making it seem like you're responsible for what they're going through, or at least for taking care of it, and that you should feel really guilty and that you're actually a bad person if you don't immediately jump in and rescue them from it. And over time, the caretaker gets confused about what is right and wrong and what healthy responsibility looks like in a relationship. And as a result of all of this confusion, they put up with more and more toxic behavior. Throughout the relationship, caretakers often lose their sense of self. At the beginning, they feel inclined to believe what their friends and family say about them and what they also know to be true about themselves, that they're kind and caring and reliable. And the longer they stay in this relationship, the more they start believing what their partner says about them and start wondering and believing, I am probably insensitive, selfish, mean, and horrible to be around. Another thing that's sad about this is that even the good times aren't authentically emotionally close. When people come together as cared for and caretaker, and the whole relationship revolves only around the needs of one person, it makes the caretaker give up their identity, and they'll stop disagreeing or being different in ways that are necessary for actual closeness, because that feels so threatening to their partner. So authentic emotional closeness doesn't come up in this kind of a dynamic or setting. The rest of the video, I will talk about stepping out of the caretaker role from within a relationship. But this is also relevant to you if you're not in a relationship at the moment, because the more you practice these things and the more you practice stepping out of your caretaking role and identity, the more likely you make it that this dynamic won't be part of your next relationship. The problem is, no matter how much a caretaker invests, if they're with someone who insists on being cared for in unhealthy ways, the relationship won't ever improve. Caretakers learned somewhere in their past that caretaking solves problems. So that's how they're trying to solve also these relationship problems. But the problem is that this strategy isn't always necessarily that helpful if that's the only thing that's going on. Caretaking can't solve all relationship problems. In fact, if it's this kind of a dynamic, it actually further cements these roles and is part of the problem. Ask yourself, although you've tried to do everything exactly like your partner wants you to, has that ever changed anything? Has it made them a happier person? Have they loved you more? Did they start considering your needs and feelings? If not, you're stuck in a caretaker role and need to get out of it. To do that, you need to change the way you show up in the relationship and which rules you're willing to abide by. Stop following rules that keep the old dynamic in place and start implementing ones that will include your needs and the needs of other family members. And if your parents were seriously mentally ill, you'll need help sorting this out because you grew up used to dysfunctional dynamics and you need to start from scratch with understanding what healthy dynamic in a romantic partnership relationship looks like. Check out the hope that your partner will get better by more caretaking. They haven't, and if they're not honestly ready to do therapy, not just pro forma therapy, real therapy, they won't. You can't fix them. Only they can fix themselves. And only if they're ready and willing to do hard work on themselves. Start allowing yourself to feel your needs and boundaries and start communicating them. This won't be easy because your partner will not appreciate you changing the rules that you've lived by so far. And they won't necessarily agree that you have the right to say no or to set boundaries. Take note of what they do to reverse the situation and to try and implement the old dynamic again. Often that is asking a lot of questions from an excessive need for control and information and then doubting the logic of your answers. You don't have to give all those explanations, though, if it doesn't help and if it's part of the old dynamic or if you don't want to. Don't allow a toxic person to be the judge of what you have the right to feel or want, do, or to decide. Don't allow another person to intimidate you into questioning your reality and what you know and what you want. You know what is right and what is wrong. You have a clear sense of reality and connection to yourself. Trust it. Use it. It won't be easy to leave your caretaking patterns. They're ingrained in your psyche. And whenever you try to step out of this habitual pattern of neglecting yourself and obsessively caring for somebody else, your psyche will notice that and you'll feel off uncomfortable, maybe guilty at first, though. Over time, this will change. Your biology will get used to the new way of life, and slowly you'll start feeling comfortable with it. And not only comfortable, the more you start taking care of yourself and your needs, the more you'll shift from discomfort to comfort to even more positives, contentment, joy, strength, connection. Your partner will probably also not allow you to change without a fight for the old dynamic. They might attack you, accuse you, belittle you. Don't get caught up in these games. Stay firm on your road to healing. Your partner will try to pull you back into the caretaker, cared for dynamic by suggesting that you have a special bond because of this dynamic, or that they can't cope without you, or that you can't cope without them. Stay firm in your resolve. This is not the relationship you want or that's good for you. And if you stay resolute long enough, eventually, it's very likely that your partner will understand that their attempts to sabotage your healing are fruitless. It's your life. You get to choose how you want to live it. And it's not per se unkind to make different choices than somebody else. It's not ungrateful to do what you want. It's not selfish to create a life you love. It's not mean to have boundaries. You can't continue holding the accountability and emotions of two people. All that will do is make you ill and keep your partner ill. Allow yourself to take care of yourself. Allow yourself to focus on yourself and your life. That doesn't mean you need to become somebody who only focuses on themselves. A healthy balance is best. But you've been so much on the extreme of the side of self-negation and self-sacrifice that to you, a healthy balance probably feels like egotism, although it isn't. You're not here to be a footnote in someone else's life. You're allowed to step out of their footnotes and to write your own story. You're good enough, deserving enough, important enough, kind enough. I wish you all the best with these changes. Take it step by step and ask for help if you need it. Till next time, take care, and remember, you deserve to be more than a caretaker in someone else's life. You deserve to be your own character in your own story.